on a disc, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Hey, I'm FTFE, welcome back to the channel that does to stupidity what Bane did to Batman's back. And yes, before you start wondering, you did read that title right. Me and Team Skeptic are going to be debating somebody who says that they are the second coming of Jesus. So yeah, you're used to dumpster fires from us, so we thought we'd do that for you. Joining me as always is Team Skeptic. How you doing, dude?
Doing alright. It was phrased to me as the second nutting of Jesus.
The second nutting of Jesus.
Yeah, but maybe, I don't know, maybe my mind goes crazy. Maybe it is the second coming. I don't see the difference, but hey, whatever, you know what I'm saying. On the plot hole.
Yes, we're going to be doing it on rockmetaltalk.com, a podcast radio show called The Plot Hole. So we will be constantly spamming the link to that throughout the show tonight. So Team and I just thought we'd come on and have a little chat with you guys, and I mean, I don't even know what we're going to do. How are we going to debate somebody who thinks they're Jesus?
Tell them they aren't. Walk on water, motherfucker. That's what I want to say. Walk on water, motherfucker. Get in your bathtub right now and make it and split it right down the middle to where there's two fucking water walls. I'll believe you then. Walk on water and then drain the bathtub so I can see nothing's in it. Tell me anything personal about my life whatsoever that only Jesus would know. And there's some things that only Jesus knows.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he could name any one of those, I would be less skeptical than I am right now.
But to respond to the chat, no, it's not Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, and I don't think it's Lord Stephen Christ.
No, I don't think so either.
No. I mean, that would be pretty fun, but where the hell did the plot hole find the guy that thinks he's Jesus?
I don't know. That's a hell of a question.
Yeah.
I honestly have no fucking clue.
Negative Exponent says, ask him to turn water into wine on camera.
Okay, there's another one.
Also,
Feed me.
Yeah.
To me by myself with a loaf of bread, you know?
We could tell him to kill himself, and then we'll come back in 3 days and see how he's doing.
I would never suggest a non-Jesus do that.
A bit far.
I wish you know what I should have done, man, and I didn't think of it till just now. I should have hit up SoCal Jesus and paid him on Fiverr to do a quick monologue about how he's the real Jesus and how that guy's not. That would have been hilarious.
Yeah. Oh God, we've got the mind of God in the chat. One of the first, well, actually, the first Flerf I ever debated, and one of the dumbest. Being the mind of God, do you know Jesus? Is this someone have you set this up? Is this your fault?
Yeah, it's him probably. Like, oh shit, that's me. I'm Jesus.
Well, isn't God
I'm the
Jesus?
second nutting. I don't know anymore. I stopped paying attention when I was like 12.
Mind of God, you never won that debate. You just said the word orthogonal over and over like it meant something. It's not my fault you don't know about summation of forces. You absolute fucking retard.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. He's the one that says that the forces... Oh God, what did he try to say?
He says basically that if something's above something else, the thing under that would have the forces of the thing above it and its own force added to it.
Yeah, that's what it was. The lines, he was saying, the lines, they go together. Well, how do you explain that? I'm like, no, it's each individual fucking object has its own force, or has its own, gravitational acceleration.
He literally thinks that there's like a computer in the middle of the Earth calculating these vectors or something.
Yeah. That's fucking hilarious.
Is Corona legit in your eyes,
anyway.
FTFE? Yes, Corona is fucking legit, as the several 100,000 people that have died would tell you, you absolute fucking moron. Is Corona legit? What a fucking twat. The entire world's in lockdown.
Who asked that?
The mind of God.
Who asked that? Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
He
He probably thinks it's part of the whole the mark of the beast thing, because he says that within 5 years we're all going to have the mark of the beast, which he says is microchips put under your skin and stuff. And he probably thinks that this is going towards that. He probably thinks the government's going to say we've got to have a chip to say if we're free of coronavirus or something. But if that doesn't happen, the mind of God did say to me that if after 5 years the mark of the beast hasn't happened, he will burn a Bible live on my channel and renounce his faith.
Hey, I want to answer the Mandoozled Effect with Brian Stavely at FTFE at Team Skeptic. What happened to your live about Unirock the other night? Cheshire Vic.
Yeah.
No, it could
Possibly.
have been. There was one questionable. Yeah, there was one questionable meme, which we need to talk about this, guys. We just need to have a real quick conversation. There was one questionable meme, and then what I think happened was the algorithm picked it up and shut the stream down on when we were drawing boobs in Microsoft Paint, which weren't boobs. One of them was a fucking Picasso, which was literally just a bunch of ovals and circles. I don't even think there was a solid circle on the fucking screen. And then Chesh's had circles that had boobs that looked like they were looking in opposite directions. So neither were anatomically correct as it was. But saying that, we do have to set some minor limitations on memes. I don't want them to stop coming in at all. In fact, send in more memes. That's what the ultimate goal of my message tonight is to send in more memes.
I just need to be more selective what I put on my channel.
So if it even suggestively shows body parts or bodily fluids, just say, for the sake of the channel, you know?
Yeah.
Because it could have been the meme, it could have been the drawings. I think it was the drawings for the simple fact that it shut it down when I showed the picture of that Cheshire drew, which was literally just two circles.
Yeah, Cheshire must have some fucking skills with paint if she can get a stream shut down using paint.
Yeah.
I should have started with the opening. Hey, I'm FTFE. Welcome to the channel that does the stupidity.
Hold it! No, hold on! I'm not letting you say that because you get that one for a video.
Oh, okay. All right then.
You got to use that in a video or a live stream, either one. But yeah, I'm not letting you get away with saying it out loud right now.
Oh,
they can wait.
A couple of super chats. Crafty Keela for €5 sends a hype sticker. Thank you very much, Crafty. Better Charge for $2 New Zealand says, "What's up, skep bitch?" And Jail Warren for $4.99 says, "Team, remember, Abbott said he knew people would die, but we have to open the economy." Okay. And Isla Moon says for $5, #boobs. I mean, we all like boobs. Negative Exponent says, "I need to write down some of the things that you were saying to actually ask Jesus when we talk to him." You back, team?
I'm back now, yeah.
Yeah, so one of the super chats was, two of them were for you, actually. Bella Charge for $2 New Zealand said, "What's up, skep bitch?"
Ha! Alright, Bella. I'll have a name for you, Bella, when you want a war? You got one. Alright, Bella.
And then Jail Warren for $4.99 says, "Team, remember, Abbott said he knew people would die, but we have to open the economy."
Yeah, he's stupid. He's stupid. Understandable. No, what we need to do is redesign how we access things. You know, like for instance, I'm not one to say that we need to impede on other people's rights for sure, but like some of the things that we do that we've done previous to this pandemic that I don't see us doing anymore You know, one of the things that I was speaking with my dad about, because my dad is like, he's always been a manager of hourly employees. You know, he works as like like one of the VPs of a company, and all he does is manage their warehouses. You know, so he will hire people, and when you're an hourly employee and you call in sick, the general response is always, are you really sick? I mean, do you really not think you can come in today? This is something that I think will change in the future, trying to get people to come to work when they're sick versus just going ahead and letting them have the day off. I think we're going to see a lot of automation come to our industries.
Yeah, I think a lot of automation is a definite thing we're going towards, which will start putting in place things like universal basic incomes.
Yeah, which if, okay, so talking on that, if they can get it right, okay, if they can get universal basic income right, that is a good thing. That is an amazing thing. It helps the consumer by dropping the prices, because, you know, even though it's still you're still compensating people for replacing them with machines still operate more efficiently than people. So one of the lower cost is going to be that, you know, while you are going to be paying this tax to the government, which ultimately goes to the people that you're displacing with robots or automation, the automation is going to have less failure. It's going to be more efficient on whatever product line. If it's like a restaurant, for instance, like a fast food restaurant, let's say, where it's a assembly line, you're not going to have very many messed up orders. You're not going to have people that look up and see mustard, but they're tired and they put on ketchup. That's not going to happen. You know, and you'll still need people to go to school. You'll still need people to become very technical, because you'll always have the need for programmers and troubleshooting people. You know, people that go out and service the machines when they break and when they go down, because they're machines. They're going to break and go down. What's up?
Yeah. Oh, there's a couple of flat earthers in the chat. Mind of God wants to come on. I suppose we could poke him for a little bit. And then there's
that's fine.
Chris Bones O'Neill says, look at all these numpties putting blind faith in a cartoon ball. Earth's flat, wake up. Simple question: if the Earth's flat, why is there no fucking evidence of that? Like, I don't know, a measurement of the Earth being flat, or I don't know, a measurement of the Earth not moving, because we have both measurements of the Earth curve and measurements of Earth rotating. So these are things you have to explain. Mind of God, I'm going to send you a link to join. I will warn you now, no talk about school shootings, Challenger disaster, anything like that. You will be instantly booted. Alright, just set that up.
But yeah, universal basic income, that's another thing. People, the way we do like fast food restaurants, I think you're going to see a lot more places open up that are just like drive-through. You drive up, you pick up your food, you go. A lot of businesses are going to go to that. I don't know. I think that society as a whole will change, but it's going to change for the better, because then the way we were living before was convenient but not efficient. You know, it makes us susceptible to spreading diseases amongst each other, as well as non-efficient work, you know what I'm saying, that comes from our manufacturers and whatnot. Yeah. I mean, you see that the automation has already taken over the car industry. You know what I'm saying? Like, people don't put cars together by hand anymore. I mean, you might have a few car companies that do very specialty jobs where it's all done by hand, but for the most part, it's done by machinery these days.
Yeah,
that is something that will translate to other manufacturing sectors.
Mind of God, I've forgotten your email, so can you just email me and I'll send you the link, fighttheflyer@gmail.com.
I remember it. It's dumbasfuck.com.
Yeah, that's his email, definitely. But yeah, there is going to have to be a massive change in society in general. We have to. With the amount of people that there is on Earth, a pandemic like this was bound to happen, and it will keep happening. And I think coronavirus, COVID-19, is something we're going to have to live with in the same way that we now live with HIV. You know, it's something that's not going to go away now. It's there, and we're going to have to manage it for the rest of humanity's time until we can literally eradicate it. It's just the way it is now, and we have to adjust so that we can do that better. A few more super chats. Let's read these. So, Nerd Angle for $3.99 says boobs or riot. No boobs, channel has to go down if that happens, so riot. David Keller for $5 says, hey team, did you enjoy eating pineapple pizza? I just opened a can of Spotted Cow beer.
I haven't done it yet.
This is from WI New Glarus. Cheers, mate. He hasn't done it yet, and once he does, I will delete all the contacts relating to him.
Now, hey, I do want to point out, Blunt Man says auto manufacturing, yes, but not auto maintenance. Correct, not auto maintenance.
No, there's going to have to be maintenance.
And he says also, he says UBI is dumb as fuck. Now, I'll agree with you, Blunt Man, right now with if they try to implement it without actually testing it in a test market or trying to fine tune it so that it does make sure to take care of the people. That's all I would never get behind a super socialism ideas as universal basic income without it being, fine tuned for the situation. I don't have anything against, UBI, nor do I have anything against like the capitalism. They'll be the first ones to say, I don't want to do that, because they'd rather have the automation without having to give up the money to pay for the people they displaced, because that's ultimately more profit. But unfortunately, you can't do that to to the people of the world, because then that would result in massive unemployment. I mean, if every company out there went with the most efficient way to run business with machines over people, then that would result in too many people being laid off. The rich would truly get richer, and the poor would just fall off into the pits of nothingness. But I just think that UBI is something that will be coming to most first world countries.
Yeah.
In fact, they're talking about maybe doing it and testing it in Hawaii.
There's been some countries that already have it.
Unusually large.
Is it Norway that already has UBI? And
I'm not sure how they're doing.
It's worked really well. It's worked really well. It's apparently boosted their economy quite a lot.
Because the thing about UBI is just it's a guaranteed income for everybody. Everybody of a certain age gets a certain income that allows you to be able to, buy things, pay rent, even if you are displaced by machinery. Your job's taken by machinery. Now, what happens if you go out and you get an education and you have the skills to be a professional in that field and make a six-figure salary every year? Well, you're not really worried about UBI at that point. You're actually going to be paid by a company to do, the professional human work that needs to be done. But I would never get behind a concept like that until it was really something that worked for everybody across the board.
Yeah.
Not just the people, but also the businesses that are having to pay the taxes. I mean, if it didn't work for them, there'd be no point in doing it, because then businesses would start failing out, and then we're back to unemployment without the taxes coming in from the businesses to pay the UBI.
Yeah. Someone says in the chat that Alaska have UBI. I wasn't aware of that. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hawaii may have it, or that they were at least going to test it in Hawaii before implementing it large scale.
Yeah,
is what I was reading about it when I was doing my research into that topic.
All right, a few more super chats. Michael Barrett for £2 says, "I'll moon, come on, Cliff, sort it out." Better Charge for $2 New Zealand dollars says, "Robots don't
Cliff.
need." I know. Sorry, robots don't need sick days or annual leave. No, they don't, until they decide that they want to rise up and destroy us all. Which is why I always say thank you when speaking to my Alexa. Computer, thank you.
Anytime.
See, always be nice to the computers. They will remember. Okay. Then we got Translator Carmanian for $5 says, the second coming, huh? So did Jesus at least buy the girl dinner first this time? Budum-ch. Digital Demonic Davros for 2 Australians says, thanks, Bob. Yeah, thank Bob. Just always thank Bob. Thanks, Bob.
A 15-degree-per-hour drift.
Cheers, Bob. Crafty Keela for 2...
another thing
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
So I've just got a few more. Let me get through these.
No. I can wait till after. Yeah, I'll wait till after the super chats are done.
Crafty Keela for €2 says, take my blind faith, fuck ass. Yep, blind faith is all we need. We don't need any evidence that the Earth's a globe, obviously. Jeff Roberts for $9.99 says, I hope this guy gains a massive following because I want New Testament 2,000 years from now to talk about Jesus being called a fucking idiot by Team Skeptic and FTFE on rockmetaltalk.com. Yeah, if that was written in the new Bible, I'd be quite happy. Number 6 for $2 says, where will crabby old people drink coffee? They'll have to stay inside and do it, or social distance. Stringer News 1 for $5 says, Raven Zero. Okay, so it seems YouTube has shadow banned me, and I'm not allowed to support you guys. If you're trying to super chat Raven Zero and you can't, the best thing to do is just refresh your page, and that usually allows you to do it. Thank you, Stringer News 1. Jell Warren for $4.99. It has been tested. We know it works. Anyone against it doesn't understand it, just afraid of change. Yeah, I think UBI could work. I think it will, in the long run, grow the economy. But I'm not an economist, so don't take my word. Gregor Eder for €5 says, the Earth is neither a pizza nor a pear, it's a pineapple. Guys, you can time that person out all you like. No, I'm joking. NA for $6.66 says, I welcome our AI overlord, Hail Satan. Hail Sagan. And Res Cosmos Devil for $5 says, FTFE, ask a flat earther why hurricanes almost never occur near the equator. I'm interested in their answer. If Nathan Thompson answered that, he would say something like, well, wind moves sometimes. Because he's a dumbass. Let me just check to see. Oh, there we go. I've got him on there. All right, I'm sending a message.
Tommy Grunwald says, do you have a link to that debate? Yeah, it's www.rockmetaltalk.com. And Ilya Moon says, hey, Team Skeptic. Hey, Ilya Moon.
Hi,
Love ya.
Yeah, I'm going to try and say it right now. Ilya Moon. There we go. I get a lot of people ragging on the way that I say things, but what you guys have to understand is I'm from Bristol, right? That's proper West Country in the UK. We're like bumpkins down there, and we talk all weird like sometimes. So if I don't say a plural correctly, or if I say a word weirdly, it's literally just a Bristolism, and I've tried hard to get rid of that. Curtis Reynolds for $20 says, being a Christian, I can tell you this Jesus is BS. I know you guys don't believe in Jesus, but even if you did, you guys are smart enough to know his return will be witnessed by all people on earth. Yes, absolutely. My God funny. Has joined us.
That's funny because
Sorry, go on, team.
All right, hey, but I just need to make one announcement. Then this comes from earlier, what was asked about my live stream from yesterday. We did come to an agreement. For those people that weren't able to catch the live stream last night, we did come to an agreement and decided that we were no longer going to even acknowledge Unirock or any of his trolls. Now, exactly, who? I think it's best for everybody. And we came to this agreement before I got hit, so even if it was his people that hit me, which I don't know that it was, but they all had some pretty fucked up shit to say as far as like, you deserve it, this and that. We were drawing boobs on the screen in Microsoft Paint. We didn't deserve to get a community guideline strike. It was 4 circles. So anybody that says it's a piece of shit, but whatever, I don't care. We're moving past that, and we're going to just not talk about that issue. No. Now here's what I want to ask everybody, okay? I have some people that I have maintained a friendship with that are still Unirock supporters. They're still Team Skeptic supporters, okay? And one of them reached out to me and said, hey man, you know, I do support you, and me and this person have had some outside interaction outside of YouTube. And he's like, I do support you, but I'm catching a lot of shit in your chat for what I believe to be no reason. As a supporter of the channel, I don't feel like, asking questions a certain, should I deserve to get treated the way I'm getting treated in your chat. So here's what I want to ask everybody to do. Let's just drop it. Okay? As a community, as all of you guys out there, as all of us in here, let's drop it. If they continue on, that's their choice, but on this end, we're just dropping it. And that includes any hate going out towards Unirock or his channel, any hate going towards any of his subscribers that may come here and try to come here and watch our shows or anything like that. Okay, and the guy that supports me is not a big supporter either. I'm not doing this for his money.
Yeah.
I'm doing this, and there's plenty of the people over there that don't support me financially, but do watch the channel, and I know they watch the channel because they message me through Discord and whatnot.
But I think
so
the best
I just
thing
want
is,
everybody.
Sorry, carry on.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like I said,
I was just going to say, I just want everybody to drop it. Just drop the situation. And if somebody from them, if they come in talking shit, absolutely time them out. Do whatever you have to do. But if they're just here to watch the show and interact with the show, we're just going to leave it alone, guys, okay? And I ask that you do that for me, for Fight, for Reds, for all of us.
Right, so we have joining us a flat earther, the Mind of God. Hello, Mind of God. How are you?
Gentlemen, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. What's up?
So, still think the Earth's flat, huh?
Yeah, but dude, just to clarify, FTFE, you think you won our first debate? What made you think that?
I mean, I was factually correct in everything I said.
Because the Earth's not flat?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you literally got gravity wrong constantly. You seem to think that it's like vectors that you add together. I mean, this just proves that you haven't a clue what you're talking about.
Well, no, I was told actually afterwards that gravity does obey superposition. From Rumpus and others. So, but
I don't think you know what that
not
means,
in the way you were talking about it. Yeah, not in the way you were talking about it, though.
No,
yeah,
no one.
I think the position. Yeah,
no,
sorry, go ahead.
No one thinks that if you have an object above another object, it's going to make the gravitational force on the object underneath greater. That's not how it works. Everything has its own mass, and that dictates the gravitational force that it experiences.
Yeah, that's actually why I use the term orthogonal, but apparently it does actually impact, and it obeys superposition. It's just negligible compared to the forces that the Earth is pulling each object.
But do you admit that you were wrong about the way that you were thinking about gravity, though?
Well, no, I was thinking about it the way you just said, that they don't impact one another, but it turns out that they do.
Wait, no. Your entire thing was saying that they do, right?
No, mine was saying that they're orthogonal is like, think of it as like independent, like it doesn't impact the thing below. That's what I was using that term for. Like, let's say you had a heavy crane holding like some massive rock. It's not going to, that ant on the ground is not going to feel that. So I use the term orthogonal.
No, of course not. I mean, technically, in some respects, the ant is going to feel that thing above it. There is going to be a gravitational influence pulling it in the opposite direction to the Earth if there's a big crane above it. But it's going to be negligible in respect to the mass of the Earth. So that's why I always say it's about summation of forces, right? We know that there is an acceleration acting downwards at 9.8 meters per second, which means we can calculate the force in newtons. But that force, the total force, can be less or more depending on other factors, like if there's air resistance or buoyancy you have to take into account depending on the situation. So there's always a summation of forces that can give you an overall thing that the object is feeling, but there's always going to be the downward acceleration acting on it of 9.8 meters per second squared.
Yeah. So the way you guys would have to word that is basically that it acts orthogonal, but it's functionally superposition. Like it's actually a linear vector field. Like it's just negligible in those other directions, except the one towards the Earth.
Well, yeah, but based on the fact that all mass attracts all mass.
Right. Exactly.
Well, hold on, mind of God, hold on. But that's not necessarily true because it's not really negligible because, like, for instance, there's a measurable difference from the equator, from an object that's being weighed at the equator to an object that's being weighed at 45 degrees up. Like, all forces that are acting upon it, like, you must account for all accelerations. So even though even though you put it to as if it's negligible, it still must be accounted for, no matter how negligible it is. When you're drawing out, like when you're talking about all the forces acting upon an object, like Fight was saying, the buoyant force, any kind of shear forces that may be acting upon it. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I see what you're saying, that the crane itself has little impact on the ant. But it does have an impact on the ant.
Well, no. Sorry, that's that's actually your position, that it has little. I say that it does have a significant impact, and it's not negligible. So that's where we have to agree to disagree. I would say you guys are the position.
Okay.
Yeah. If you were to drop.
Let's. Yep. Yeah, let's do this just in our head. We can easily give values, and we can treat everything as if it's a point source, right? So we can just say that the Earth weighs a certain amount. It's consistently dense all the way from the center to the outside. We can say it has a radius of about 4,000 miles, and then we can work backwards what the acceleration would be on the ant. Well, I can tell you it's going to be 9.8 meters per second, given that the ant's at sea level, and we're working with a perfect sphere. Now, how much mass do you think a crane would be? We're going to say now, let's put a crane 1 inch above the ant. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to allow you to condense the crane down into a solid ball. All right. Mm-hmm. So first off, let me go look at what a heavy crane weighs, okay? And I want you to just think, I don't care how big or small you make this ball, just give me a radius, and we'll say make the radius in meters, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So hey, it says our smallest crane weighs 10 tons. Okay,
sure.
Go ahead.
Well, we can do this even quicker.
Okay, so it says
I know where you're going at. We just have to consider the masses. So let's walk through the quick thing that we're both getting at, is that, let's say mass of the Earth is big M. That's what we'll call it, and then we'll say the mass of the ant is M1, and then the mass of the crane is M2. So you guys are saying M1 plus M2, or sorry, M1 and plus M1 and M2, like the ant and then the crane. That's the secondary force that's acting between the ant and the crane.
Yeah.
Your point is that that's very, very small, pretty much always, compared to the big, massive M of the Earth, right? So you guys don't disagree. You guys don't disagree with the superposition, because we all know that that's what it is. It's a linear field, and so you guys will always be able to cancel out the small. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, it doesn't cancel out, though. It doesn't cancel out, and this is what I was saying is like. If you weigh something, the same object, if you weigh it at the equator, it weighs less, because you're also dealing with an acceleration outwards that counters the centripetal force inwards, that's gravity. So you have the centripetal force inwards of gravity that's causing you to accelerate at 9.8 meters per second squared, and then there's the centrifugal force of the rotation of the Earth that's giving you, I believe, like 1/3 of 1% of that acceleration.
At the equator, it's 0.5% of the gravitational acceleration.
Yeah, don't worry about different places on Earth. Let's fix that. Let's leave that fixed. So the M.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's just assume. Let's assume for the time being that the Earth's not even rotating, so we don't have to worry about a centrifugal force. Okay.
Right.
Let's just assume that the Earth. Okay. So if we give you that let's see, the heaviest crane weighs 300 tons. So I'm going to give you the heaviest crane. I'm going to say 300 tons, okay? Yeah. 300 tons. Now, how big of this mass do you want to compress this 300 tons down to? And give it to me in meters, okay?
Wait, sorry, you want me to give you the volume?
Yes. No. The radius of the sphere that we're going to crush this 300-ton crane down into.
Oh, yeah. So you want the density of, like, just drop it. Give me the best case scenario and put it to.
Okay, we'll do. You want to do 10 meters? That's if we're taking 300 tons. Okay, how about this? 2 meters. Yeah. All right. We'll take 300 tons and compress it down into a sphere that has a radius of 2 meters. All right.
Yeah.
So, to find the acceleration, we do the gravitational constant times the mass of the crane divided by the radius squared. Okay, let me pull up my calculator real quick. You know what? Give me 1 second to download the right calculator. I recently cleaned up my computer, and I just need to get this one app. It won't take but a second.
Let's do the static case, and then we'll mix it up and do the case where that that crane is holding a boulder that's actually moving towards the Earth. That's the case that you guys will have trouble explaining.
Oh, we won't. It's all explained perfectly in our model. And just to say, like, when you're saying, did I think I won the debate between us, right? It wasn't my best debate because it was the first debate that I properly had. I still won it because I was factually correct in everything I said. Could I have performed better? Yes, and I've got better and better at debates in the as I've gone on. I've never lost a debate because I'm factually, objectively correct, and you can't lose a debate when you have the actual facts behind you.
Fair enough.
Fight. Fair enough. I can't get this calculator on my anti-piracy software. My anti-malware software is keeping me from downloading this calculator. Will you get a calculator ready? Please?
What kind of calculator?
We don't even need to calculate. I know you're gonna say that the M1 and M2 are small relative to the big M and the M1, and that's fine.
No. Okay, so the way I always like to look at it is just as acceleration. Okay, we don't need to look at any of the masses or anything. We just need to compare the accelerations. All right. So I'm just going to right now. We know that all objects at the surface, for whatever reason, we call it gravity, accelerate at 9.8 meters per second squared. Okay, so now we're going to take that crane.
Body diagram. Nothing's moving.
I understand. I'm not assuming anything's moving. So now what we're going to do is acceleration, as in if the ant was 9.8 meters up and we let go of the ant, it would take 1 second for it to get to the ground. Okay, so that's the acceleration that we feel at the surface of the Earth. All right, now fight. Are you ready for this equation?
Yeah.
6.67 times 10 to the negative 11. And let me... Oh
crap, I can't put exponents in this calculator.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? Let's see. All right, so how many digits can your calculator go? Because just put 10 zeros and then 667.
All right, let me just do that.
Will it allow you to do that?
0.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 6, 7.
667, yeah.
Okay, got that.
Or 67 if you don't have enough.
No.
Okay, times 272,155 tons.
272,000.
155.
155. Okay.
Divided by 4.
Divided by 4.
And that's 2 squared, the radius of that sphere squared.
0.0000045
Okay, how many zeros are in front of that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Of the 4? Okay, so that, and then it was 4, 5 after that?
Yeah, 4, 5,
4.
4.
Okay, so 4.54 times 10 to the negative 6. That would be your meters per second squared. That would be your acceleration from 300 tons, a 300-ton crane squished down to a sphere that has a radius of 2 meters.
Okay.
So
that would be the force acting upon the ant. Yes. That's the acceleration. That's the acceleration that's acting. The force itself would be taking the ant's mass into account.
And if you wanted to calculate
we're not
the
trying
actual...
to we're not worrying about the ant's mass because we could replace the ant with anything. All we're worrying about now is the A in the equation F equals ma.
Yeah. And now we know the acceleration towards the mass that's above the ant. We can calculate the summation of forces and calculate the real-time acceleration towards the Earth that the ant would experience. which would still be practically 9.8 meters per second squared minus the 0.0000454. So
okay, but wait, before we get into the actual numbers that they are, so the ant has a force towards the Earth. Let's call that F1. The crane has a force towards Earth. We'll call that F2. And the crane and the ant have a force between each other called F3. Are we okay with those definitions? Right?
Hold on.
So
There'd be four then. There'd be four. So there would be the crane.
The fourth?
Or hold on. Let me get this right. Because I think you listed off four and named three, but I think I just caught it as two of them being the same. So you have a force between the ant and the Earth. You have a force between
F1.
the ant and the crane, and then you have a force. Well, a force between that's one, and then the ant and the crane would be two, and then the crane and the Earth would be three. But really, but let's say we have them lined up one on top of the other, right?
Yep.
Okay, now we can both agree that the ant's mass, therefore the acceleration due to the ant's mass is minuscule, right? So really, what we're really talking about is the acceleration of the Earth towards the crane and the acceleration of the crane towards the Earth, because they both attract towards each other with the ant in the middle.
Yes.
So
that's exactly,
from the Earth,
right.
from the Earth's perspective, the Earth would be attracted to the crane by the mass of the ant and the Earth. So the force acting upon the Earth, the acceleration acting upon the Earth, will be felt from the mass of the crane and the mass of the ant being added together.
But you also have to take into account the distance.
The acceleration.
Between the
acceleration.
Well,
yeah. Let me re-clarify what I'm saying. It's because I don't. Talking about it in forces makes it, to me, you really need to be including masses and whatnot. You can say that the masses don't change, and I like to keep it consistent, so I talk in accelerations. The Earth experiences or let's say the ant experiences an acceleration towards the Earth. However, that 9.8 meters per second squared is going to also be countered by that whatever we came up with, 10 or 4.5 times 10 to the negative 6. So you would have to add that into. If we had a machine that was sensitive enough to read it, then it would show up. Okay, but since it's an ant, it's probably not going to show up.
This is the fundamental issue. This is the more fundamental issue. You believe there's a real force that's, let's say that crane was actually released, so it is actually now moving towards the Earth. You believe that's a real force pulling that towards the Earth, right?
Well,
Governed by
no.
the Earth's mass.
Right. Well,
no.
Let me answer that to you,
emergent force.
Yeah. We call it an emergent property, which means it's a consequence of something else happening, right? So yes, there is a force there by virtue of the fact that the object has mass and there's acceleration. So we've got M&A. We can therefore calculate what the force is. It doesn't mean that there is a physical force, but we can still calculate what's there because of the mass and the acceleration. We call it an emergent property because it's a consequence of the fact that space-time is curving due to the mass. Now, the object is still traveling constantly in a straight line, but because of the curvature of space-time, it causes the acceleration because the object still wants to go in a straight line, but space-time is curved.
Sure, but there's something happening on the face of the crane towards the Earth that's different than the other side, right? So it's experiencing a desire to go towards the Earth, and
tidal forces. It has tidal forces.
Is it being pulled or is it being pushed from the back or from the inside? How does that crane know to go towards the Earth? Is it from the inside or from the outside?
Well, the reason it knows to go towards the Earth is because Earth is the biggest mass, which means that it will curve space-time the most, which will literally make things fall towards the bigger mass. So whatever the biggest mass is, that's where the noticeable acceleration will be towards. But that doesn't mean that the Earth isn't also accelerating towards the crane, because the crane still has mass, which means it still warps space-time enough for things to fall towards it, but the amount that it falls towards the crane is so much less than the amount that it falls towards the Earth, because of the fact that mass is warping space-time in a different amount.
You guys always say you can't have acceleration without a force, so if that crane is accelerating, is it being pushed towards the Earth or being pulled towards the Earth?
Okay, but it's only a force in our reference frame.
Yeah.
Okay, in this gravitational reference frame. That's the only place that's a force. It appears as a force to us the same way as if you were to take let's say a rock and hang it from the ceiling of your car and you accelerate forward. Well, if you mounted a camera inside of the car, I would ask you like this, Mind of God, okay? Let's say you mounted a camera inside of your car and you had a rock hanging down from a string in your car, and you looked at 2 5-second clips, okay, of the entire time that you're driving. One where the rock was hanging straight down, and one where it was hanging slightly backwards, okay? It's like it's kind of hanging more towards the back seat, like not straight down vertical, okay? So if I asked you which one of those scenarios were you traveling at a constant speed and which one were you accelerating in, would you be able to tell me?
I don't know what you're talking about, too. We're talking about
one?
a crane moving towards the Earth.
No. Hear me out.
I feel like what you're doing is avoiding my.
I'm trying to explain what. No. I'm trying to explain what a fictitious force is to you, so that you can understand when we say yes, there's an acceleration in our reference frame. Of course, we do see it as mass accelerating towards the planet, right? We see it as a force that's being enacted on that mass, or an acceleration that's being acted on that mass, but that's only in our reference frame. Just like when you take the 5-second videos, and in one video the ball or the rock continues to hang straight down, you can say that you were either traveling at a constant speed or you were traveling at no speed at all. And the one where the rock was hanging in kind of slightly backwards, you could say, well, that one right there, I was for sure accelerating in. And you can say that you were for sure accelerating in that because while it looks to you as if a force is acting on that rock in your video, which is attached to your frame of reference, you yourself know that there was no force acting upon that rock. So you would have to say, my frame of reference was accelerating at that time, therefore I witnessed this emergent force, this emergent property, this fictitious property. The same thing goes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think I get it. You can't describe it as basically a push-pull then. That's your
No, because it's not a physical force. And when you're talking about the push-pull, that's when you're talking about a physical force rather than an emergent property of something else happening.
Okay, why don't you just say that? That's fine.
I mean, that's what I've been trying to explain for a long time, but I've had to refine the way that I say things to try and get it out correctly. Now, it's the same way. Imagine you're on a disc that's rotating, okay, and you're on the outside looking inwards, right? And you throw a ball towards the center of the disc. Now, if you were outside of the disc watching the whole thing rotate, for you, that ball would travel in a straight line, right? But if you are on the disc, as you throw the ball, for you, it will drift ahead of the rotation. It will curve. Now, because it's curving, that means that there's an acceleration in a certain direction, which means because there's a mass and an acceleration, we can say that there is a force applied that's causing that apparent drift. Of course, there is no real force. It's a consequence of the reference frame that you're in, but it's still calculable as a force because there is an acceleration and a mass. Therefore, we can denote it with a force. That's the basis of the Coriolis force. There isn't really a force there, but because of the reference frame makes it seem like the mass is accelerating, we can calculate what the force is.
This is different though, because you're talking about the actual cause of things moving. Like that is your answer for the cause of things moving, accelerating, is something creating this force that then governs the.
Are you talking? Mind of God? Are you talking about like when you drop something? We're saying that's the cause of it moving.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's
okay.
The position.
So
right?
let me put it to you. Let me put it to you in another way. Then try to think of it like this. Let's say you're in an elevator, right? Well, hold on. I'm trying to think of how I want to explain it to you so it's not so hard as to understand. Okay, so everything is in motion. Okay, everything follows what's called a geodesic. It's just a straight line path through space-time or through space. Okay, now energy bends space-time. It warps space-time. Bending is something that we in our three-dimensional world we try to explain it that way, so I'm going to continue to say stuff like bending and warping and whatnot, but it changes the geodesic, okay? So when you have an object, let's say you put an object and you hold an object out, straight out, right? Now that object has a desire to follow its geodesic, which the geodesic bends towards mass or towards energy. So it's going to bend towards the Earth, okay? So this object that you're holding in your hand actually has a desire to continue following its geodesic at a constant rate in through the space-time, okay? So you feel a force which you assume is gravity pulling on that object, but it's not really gravity pulling on that object. What you are doing is you are pulling that object off of its geodesic. That is what you're doing. You are accelerating that object away from the path that it wants to be going down when you're holding it. And that's why you feel the force of that object wanting to pull down. We call it gravity because it's easier to explain in our three-dimensional world. Before there was Einstein and there was Newton, that's how he understood it. He knew that there was something else more to it, but that's how he understood it. That was the best that they could do to explain it until somebody else came along with a better, more thorough idea, more explanatory idea, which was Einstein.
So wait, team.
So
can you pause? just
yeah.
pause, because you said a lot there. Are you saying it would be a material sort of medium or desire outside of the actual mass itself that this thing is operating in? Is that a way to rephrase what you just said?
No, okay. So everything in the universe is in motion. Okay, everything is. And everything is following a geodesic. And that geodesic is altered by energy and the warping of space-time, mass, all of these things that warp space-time. It changes every object's geodesic. So
yeah, but
that's
wait, you're saying that
when
system,
you're holding an object,
that system exists. You're saying that system exists even without these
yes,
masses that work.
Space-time, yes.
Okay, right. And so I just want to clarify.
Yes.
Then that whatever you call that system or that desire is what you would say gravity, the warping of space-time, right? It's tangible, right? It has to be material, it has to be real in order to do these.
Yeah. It is. That's why we say that's how we came up with E equals mc squared. That's one of the correlations that we get between energy and mass, and how we now understand that it's not just mass that causes gravity, that it's not just massive object, it's actually energy that's causing the warping of space-time, but mass is energy. So it still works out the same to say that mass, or to say that energy, or to say that substance, everything and anything is going to have an effect on space-time. That's tangible, is going to have an effect on space-time. But let's say I want to. So we see it as the Earth pulling on the ball in our reference frame, okay? But now I want you to think about it when you drop the ball, okay? So have you ever rode those rides at Six Flags where you go into free fall and you put a quarter on your hand, and when you go into free fall, the quarter goes up and it just like kind of floats on top of your hand, right in front of your face? Have you ever seen that ride? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about? They used to call it the cliffhanger in Texas. So basically what it showed was that when things were free falling in the reference frame, there appeared to be no gravity. So in other words, let's say when you put that quarter in your hand and that you go into free fall, that quarter no longer has any weight. Or to say that that quarter has weight is an erroneous statement, because there is no force of gravity being felt. Now, if we describe it from our frame of reference in a world where we say gravity exists, then we say gravity caused the object to accelerate. The acceleration of the object had a fictitious force in the opposite direction, so that both forces canceled out, and there's no force felt on the object. So that's why we say objects are weightless when they're in free fall. Now, if you look at it from the other perspective, where you're looking at everything being in free fall, where when you're holding the object whose desire is to continue to follow its geodesic, and you're keeping it from doing that, and it's requiring you to put a force to hold that object up. When you let go of the object, it is in free fall. It's only accelerating in our reference frame. According to it, it's now traveling along its geodesic at a constant rate. So therefore, there is no, if you look at it from the concept of space-time and that concept, then there are no forces acting upon it when it's in free fall, and that's why it becomes weightless. It becomes weightless because there's no forces, not because the forces cancel out, but because there are no forces.
It's all about reference frames.
So I guess that's probably the main issue in our just thinking back to our first debate a long time ago. It's like, it doesn't seem like gravity lends itself towards free body diagrams, which is what I was trying to produce, because that's really, I guess, not the way it works. Like, you can't describe it as a physical force acting on one side or both parts.
Well, you
of the
can.
mass.
No, well,
You
okay.
can't.
Well, here, hold on. Well, let me explain why you can. Okay. Now, let's say that we have. Let's just not consider the Earth's gravity right now. Let's say we go into space and we have a subterfuge or I think they're called subterfuges. The ones that spin real fast and it separates the blood out. Well, they always hang down a little bit because of the force of gravity. But if we do this in space, there would be no gravity. There would actually be a simulated gravity, you know what I'm saying, from the centrifugal force, because it's being spun around a circle. It's being spun around in a circle. There's a force acting on it that's pushing everything out, okay? We can spin it so that that force has a 9.8 meters per second acceleration of centrifugal acceleration outward, in the outward direction. That is analogous to Earth's gravity of 9.8 meters per second squared.
No, that's fine. I'm not saying that you don't have analogies. I was concerned about this case with those three static objects: the mass of the Earth, the ant, and then this boulder or crane or whatever. And so in statics, there's somebody in the chat. He's probably a troll, Jay Aceto. I don't know if he's smart. Get him on the panel. He's saying that I don't know what a free body diagram is. I've taken statics in undergrad. Know exactly what a free body diagram is.
Well,
It's a diagram that when you have anything that is out in reality and you claim that there are forces acting on it, you can describe those forces with vectors and with a direction and a magnitude. It's not complicated. And so we would do free body diagrams on bridges, and different things going on. And so,
but free body
You're
diagrams
saying
work
free
perfectly when
body,
we're
right?
talking about like vectors and stuff of gravity. Like, I mean, a free body diagram works when you're trying to describe a summation of forces. I don't understand your issue with gravity and free body diagrams, because in a free body diagram you're still going to take into account the newtons of the force that's acting downwards and any forces in opposite directions. I'm trying to. This is why I don't see your issue with gravity working with free body diagrams, because free body diagrams is a very easy way to describe what gravity is doing, talking about summation of forces.
But the thing about force, real, I would say, diagrams that we do is we can identify what the force is and where it's acting on the body that we're analyzing. But your position is that gravity is not acting on a particular side or in a particular way. It's like always acting. It's like a medium, basically. Boulder.
If we were talking about, say, an object being attracted towards the ground, we can still calculate the forces that are involved and the summation of the vectors quite easily, even though there's different masses in play. It's just about plugging in the numbers. This is why I don't see the issue with describing gravity with a free body diagram.
No, I don't see the issue either, but it looks like you can't, from what we talked about with those three objects, you can't do that. I don't think it doesn't look like it's possible, because I asked whether it's a pull or a push, and you guys can't say that. So it's
an emergent force.
Action. Yeah, it's a
yeah, but we can still calculate the vector, though. We can still say, well, the force appears to be acting in this way, because it's all about which is the largest mass and therefore the biggest acceleration.
Yeah. So let's say let's say you can put a vector to that crane, and let's say it's released. It's just the arm breaks off and it's falling towards the ant. Your position is that, does that ant know before it gets crushed that this crane is above it? That force, which is tangible because it's acting with the earth.
It's going to be so small the ant probably wouldn't notice it.
So
but no, it's not, because it's with the earth
let's
this time.
say. No, but it's not with the Earth. They're acting in opposite directions to one another.
No, I'm talking about
you're
the
saying
crane
that the crane
and
is
the Earth,
falling from above the ant, right?
I'm not talking about the force between the
So
crane
the crane
and the
is
ant. I'm talking
falling.
about the force between the.
No, okay.
Right.
Well, he would not experience any. He would not even understand what the force between the Earth and the crane is.
But why?
Like the ant would never experience that force.
Why?
Because
much stronger than
because it's not tangible. It's not tangible because it's a field. Okay, it's an acceleration field. Or it's a gravitational field, and we talk about it in terms of its acceleration. As you get further away in the field, the acceleration drops by 1 over the distance squared. So
Exactly.
all
So
that
you,
they
you
would
can only
see,
talk about the
right? The
accelerations.
ant.
You
Well,
can't
hold
talk
on,
about
hold
the
on, hold
forces.
on, hold on, hold on.
Yeah.
The only things the ant is going to feel, let's say we're going to remove all forces except for gravitational forces, okay? The only thing the ant's going to feel, it's going to feel the acceleration of the Earth, and it's going to feel the acceleration of the crane. So if the crane is at a higher height, is at a much higher, elevation, and it's still interacting, but extremely weakly interacting with the ant. As it goes down, the ant will begin to feel less and less weight because towards the earth, less and less acceleration towards the earth, because forces are a combination of all forces acting upon the ant. There's only two forces that we're talking about acting upon the ant in this scenario: gravitational acceleration of the earth and the gravitational acceleration of the crane. The gravitational acceleration of the crane to the earth has no effect on the ant.
That's the part that we don't it doesn't make sense to us as flat earthers. That's
Right.
impossible.
Okay. So when team said it has no effect, that's not entirely true. There's still going to be an acceleration towards the thing that's above the ant. So if the crane's
No. I'm saying the acceleration of the acceleration the crane feels from the earth will not be felt by the ant.
Yes. Yeah.
No.
but the
Oh, right.
force
Okay.
has
I see what you
Yeah.
mean.
Right. Yes.
But
That's the main difference.
So
Go ahead, sorry.
what the ant's going to be feeling? So if the crane's above it and it falling towards the ant, okay. Overall, the ant is going to feel the acceleration towards the earth and the increasing acceleration as the crane gets closer to the ant. All right, but that acceleration towards the crane is still going to be so small compared to the acceleration towards the earth that it's negligible and the ant wouldn't feel it. Even if
No, it's big.
the crane is 1 meter above the ant, it's still not going to
No,
feel it relative to the mass of the earth.
Craig, it's big. We're not talking about the force between the crane and the ant. We're talking about the force between the crane and the earth. And so that acceleration is appreciable because it's obviously very, very
Yeah, but
massive.
the ant's not going to feel the acceleration between the crane and the earth.
But team just said it'll experience the acceleration, and so you guys always push you can't have A without F. So how does it experience the A but not the F?
Well,
That's my point.
Right. So
No, it does experience the F. F equals m times A. All we need to concern ourselves with is with A, because the ant's mass is not changing, the crane's mass is not changing, the Earth's mass is not changing. So what we do is we just talk about it in terms of acceleration. So we talk about the acceleration that's felt on the ant, which is the mass of the Earth has an acceleration that it imparts on the ant, and the crane has an acceleration it imparts on the ant.
But how does the F
You don't have
go
to talk.
through
I
the
mean, you
ant
can
without
talk about it in terms of forces.
Well, it
but
doesn't
you can
need
just
to go-
make m
yeah.
equal to 1.
So it doesn't. The
But,
force.
wait, time out. Do you guys at least know what I'm saying? Just so we're not.
Yeah, right. Let me get.
Okay.
So you're saying the ant should feel the acceleration that the crane is experiencing towards the Earth.
If it's a real force.
Right. There's no reason it
Hey,
would
I have-
experience that because the force is acting on the crane at that point and not the ant. What the ant will feel. What the ant will feel is the acceleration towards the crane. It won't feel the acceleration between the crane and the Earth because that's nothing to do with the ant. The ant will only feel acceleration towards things based on its own mass
Craig,
and
I deserve
distance
an
towards
apology
another
now.
mass.
I deserve an apology now because that's what my initial point was in that first debate. Was I said those forces are orthogonal. They're real, but they act independent of one another. And you guys keep making fun of me, but that's what you guys actually believe, that they're orthogonal. That the force from the crane to the earth is mathematically, I'm just using a math term, orthogonal to the force between the ant and the earth.
But it doesn't mean that the ant will
Will you
feel
put
the
my-
acceleration that the crane is experiencing.
Will you put
That's fine,
my?
we're just talking about the forces.
Will you share
Yeah.
me full screen? Will you share me full screen so I can just explain?
I mean,
We're about to have to get rid. We're about to have to go to
well,
that other-
actually,
so I want to.
the plot hole said it's actually an hour later than we thought. So
But wait, was
Oh,
that
okay.
an
Well, we
apology?
got a little bit of time then.
no,
All right.
because the reason
No,
why we
okay,
made
so-
fun of you is because the amount of times that you said the word orthogonal during that
fair
debate. During that debate, you said it 97 times. That's why we made fun of you because you were using it as an explanation for everything, whereas it didn't really explain the mechanics of what was happening independently.
It's a math term. Maybe independent is a better term, but that's a more statistical term. But it just, orthogonal is a term that's used in like in geometry, you know, when you're designing like a set of basis
I understand what you're saying, but because
Okay.
the force is an emergent property rather than a physical force, there's no reason why the thing in between the two masses would feel the effect of the thing it's in between. It would only feel relative to its own mass and the distance away from other masses.
But what you guys have to reconcile is that apparently that you guys have to stick to this independence or orthogonality. But then I know now, according to you guys, that gravity obeys superposition. So that's the contradiction for me mathematically. Gravity you can't cherry pick and say it's obeys superposition and then say that those two forces are orthogonal or independent, whatever term you want to use. It's double dipping.
No,
Well,
okay, so
Yeah, sorry, Tim, go on.
let me explain because this is I want to let you clarify yourself here so before we move forward, okay? So
Yeah.
on this screen of masterpiecery and YouTube, don't fucking, those aren't boobs and a penis right there. That is fucking the earth, a crane, and a fucking ant, okay? That's what those are. All right, now
Nice.
the Earth, right? We're gonna talk about the. I don't know if you can see my little my thing on here. It's kind of small, my cursor, but the ant. Okay, so the ant
Is the red,
He
right?
feels two accelerations. Right, correct. He feels
Okay.
two accelerations. All right, one acceleration he feels is in this direction, and that's towards the Earth. The other one he feels is in that direction, and that's towards the crane. The total acceleration, if we were to measure this, the acceleration, we'll call this up here, we'll call this A1, okay, and we're going to call this A2, and we're going to say that AT is what he feels, and that's going to be equal to A1 minus A2. Now you can do, this is in the direction of A1, but you could do it in the other
What's
one.
A2?
You could say that it's A2 is the acceleration that the ant feels towards the crane due to the crane's mass
Okay, so
and distance
now
away
where's
from the ant.
A3 between the crane and the Earth? That's the one we're missing. So it's plus
Okay.
A3.
So we're not. No.
The ant wouldn't feel that.
This force,
The-
this force over here, which we'll call this A3. Okay, we'll go ahead and call this one A3. This is the force the crane feels, the acceleration the crane feels towards the Earth, and this is based
Correct.
on the mass of the Earth and the distance from the crane from the center of the Earth. Okay, but we're gonna call that A3. A3, the ant is completely ignorant to A3. A3
Why?
is nothing because the ant, what is A3 to the ant? Why would the ant feel the acceleration of A3? What does that have to do with him in any mass that involves him?
Well, if it's a real force that's creating those A's, then that force one would think that they would act according to what you guys say is superposition. So it would experience that,
Right.
just like any other field that
No,
obeys
hold-
superposition.
Oh God,
Right.
no.
But A3, hold on, but A3 is the acceleration of the crane to Earth. Okay? That's it. That's the acceleration it feels towards Earth. It has nothing to do with the ant. The A1 and A3 are both based on the same mass, m, the mass of the green, this right here. So A1 and A2 or A3 are based on this mass right here. So the force that is felt would be F equals big G, m of the Earth.
So you guys believe those
Well,
forces are
let's see,
orthogonal?
yeah, m of the crane,
That's
and then the radius away. So the acceleration would ultimately be equal to big G, which is what I did just a moment ago, times the mass of the Earth divided by the radius squared.
Now this masterpiece will be up for sale. I start the bidding at $15,000. No
so
one.
you guys do believe then that
We
those
can use
forces
this
are
equation.
orthogonal?
Okay, but here's the thing. We can use this little thing, this little G times m over r squared. We can use that to calculate every one of those accelerations.
Yeah, agreed. Well,
That's
not
what I'm
worried about
saying.
the
There
actual
is a
numbers. I'm worried
the
about
acceleration. We already, but the force or the acceleration of the object above it that it's feeling would have no effect on the acceleration below, because that acceleration is only based on the same mass. You're
Right.
trying
So
to
there are
add the
orthogonal.
acceleration in twice.
They're
No,
orthogonal.
you
If
don't
guys
add
were
them
to
together.
make if you were to make a vector field of this and then draw a free body diagram, you would put the F3, which makes the A3. You would say that force is acting independent of A1's existence, A1 and A2.
But we wouldn't even talk about A3. Hold on. If we were only talking about the ant, then we wouldn't be talking about A3 whatsoever.
Right. So A3.
Like,
can
okay,
exist
hold on.
without being there.
Let me turn this around right again. 1 second, okay? I want to show you something real quick. So we want to discuss now what the acceleration is on this object, okay?
Team, can you do less circles
what
within
acceleration
circles,
would
please?
Okay, so this object, right? Now ignore this little up arrow right here, because now everything's going to be going in this direction.
But team, we don't need more objects. We have 3 Fs: F1, F2, and F3. Do you agree with my position? I think we just have to agree to disagree.
No.
Okay.
No, because they wouldn't. Hold on, let me explain. I'm not done explaining, right?
Sure.
So
Go for
we calculated what the acceleration on the ant, the red object, would be. Now let's calculate what the acceleration on the yellow object would be, right? So the yellow object would experience an A2. Well, it would really be, we'll just have to do A4 would be. This A2 now becomes a new A2 because it's based on this mass, not this mass. So,
Wait,
but it's going to be in this direction. That's what I'm saying. No. Well, now it's not. This is not being accelerated by its own mass. It's being accelerated by the mass of the Earth, green, and the mass of the ant. So A2 now becomes an acceleration in this direction, right? Based on the mass of the ant and the distance from the object. A3 is an acceleration based on the mass of the Earth and the distance that this crane is from the Earth. And the total, AT, will equal, in this instance, A2 plus A3.
Okay, now I'm just
At
gonna,
the same time.
I'm going to quickly go through some super
ahead.
chats because there is some that are directed towards Mind of God. So just give me 1 minute to just get through those. Crafty Keeler for €2 says Eel Ia Moon. So I'll get that right. Eel Ia Moon. Christ Puncher for $2 says, I'm from Canada and they think I'm slow, eh? Elia Moon for $5 says, it's okay. Isla is Elia, but I reply to Isla, lol. Better Charge for $5 New Zealand dollars says, Craig knows gravity. He has started creating his own gravitational pull on objects. Fight the tight, sure. I'm going to go and sit in the corner and cry.
Is that a flat earther?
No, that's one of my subs. I don't mind because I'm not oblivious to the fact that I've put on weight. Right? There's a reason behind it. I'm disabled. I can't exercise.
Put on weight? That's
Yeah.
what you're calling that? Okay.
It was about 2 stone. It's not even that much, but I'm
Absorb the
Craig, are you on
nutriment.
lockdown too?
Yeah,
Craig, are you on lockdown as well?
yeah,
Like you guys stuck? Okay.
yeah. Scotland is still on full lockdown, whereas England has actually lifted a lot of the restrictions. But I'm disabled. I
Right.
can't exercise, and I was on opioids for nearly a decade. I came off of them. It affected my metabolism. Yeah, I put on weight, so I joke about it, and I don't care. Glass Monster for $2 says, mod me, I'd love to be a mod on all 3 channels. I'm adding more mods at the end of this month, so I will put you in the list. Dim Sum Nimsum for $5 says, Universal Basic Income was tested in Ontario, Canada. They stopped early because everyone stopped working, so it's horribly ineffective. I understand the point, but if there is a lot of jobs that are taken by automation, then there's going to be less jobs for people, so universal basic income might become a necessity.
It's something that has to be perfected before it can be implemented for sure. And I'm glad there's test markets that are getting it done to figure out what's wrong with it, whether it's truly viable. Because I'm telling you, corporations, okay? We live in a capitalistic country, and as Americans, we can tell you that the moment that a corporation can save $1 by canceling out its entire fucking workforce and bringing in machines, they're going to save that dollar. And that's unfortunate because that's the future. Robotics is the future. Computers are the future. Technology is the future.
Yeah.
So we need somebody to test this and get it all worked out so that eventually it can, be good. You can take my artwork off, I think. Or actually, Mind of God, do you have any questions about what I drew or any disagreements with what I said?
Well, I think we're at the point now where I actually think I understand your position, and
Right,
I'm
okay.
glad I use the term orthogonal, because that is exactly the position that you guys take, and that's fair enough. I would say I was right on my first understanding. I don't know. You guys need to think about how can you have orthogonal forces that still obey superposition.
Because of emergent properties. There's so much more behind what's causing gravity than just obvious thing. But let me just, there's just a few more super chats for me to get through. So just hold on. Justin Fallett for 50 Nokias says, may the force of density be with you. Thank you. Jail Warren for 4.99 says, can you please explain how known distance plot points between cities when plotted out create a sphere? Got an answer to that, Mind of God?
What tools are you using to state that that's true?
Known distances.
What website or tool? I've been on skyvector.com with Bob the Science Guy, and we talked about flight paths, and that, for everybody, that's a 2D map that people use to create flight paths. So I don't know where
Great Circle Roots would disagree with that. But
I'm just wondering what tool
you plot those. Well, you can do translations. You can do 3-dimensional to 2-dimensional translations with basic algorithms. That's one of the reasons why the maps look the way they do, with Greenland being the sizes they are, Antarctica being the sizes it is, at the bottom being stretched out as one long, basically portion of a square, when in reality it's a circle. That's just it's a way of translating it, and that's unfortunate that it causes things to look the way they do, but when you plot them out on a sphere, it's perfect. The planes follow great circles, which are the shortest distance between 2 points on a sphere, are always along a great
yes,
circle.
Bob the Science Guy, it is.
Okay. Hey, Mind of God, I have Look, hey, I'm putting together a little experiment that I want everyone in the community to be a part of, including flat earthers. That requires you to just make I think I'm going to do 3 or 4 little measurements, within a few miles of each other, using a GPS and recording yourself doing it. And this, if we can get enough data points, and I can, randomize the data points so that nobody knows who the flat earthers are that submitted them, nobody knows who the globe earthers are, we could plot all those points out, and we could come to an agreement that both of us, that me and all the people that participate in, can say they came to a conclusion that supports one premise. And we can do this together, man. I'm not going to tell anybody they can't do it. It's going to be simple. All I require is that you record yourself doing it, so you can make sure that nobody goes, they're lying about the data.
Right.
If they don't record it, I'm not accepting it. It must be recorded. It must be recorded with a GPS, so that you can show where on the GPS that it shows you at certain points on the Earth. Yeah. So we can calculate the points on the surface, and then we can calculate the distance that it was between the 2 points. If we plot these out in both the northern and southern hemisphere, we should come to a conclusion based on those data points.
Yeah.
Well, anytime with GPS, I like that idea, because I think GPS or drones will solve this, that we need a straight line reference, or a curved line, I guess. We need a reference.
But that's the point of multiple points, right? So it kind of gives you a reference.
But team, if you do that, I'll hear it out. I like where you're thinking on that.
Okay.
That's good.
I want you to participate.
To quickly answer someone in the chat, David Jammers, what happened to my Eratosthenes experiment? Basically, the online forums that I created were destroyed by trolls, and it got too big for me to handle on my own. So this year we're retrying it around my birthday in July, and Vishanti is going to be helping organize and manage it. And again, it's something that I will invite all flat earthers to help me with. I want as many legit data points as possible to, if that's the case, you can only come to one conclusion. So,
but Craig, why don't you step up your game and do what Team's doing, man? GPS, drones, let's get some real, why are you
there's multiple things. There's multiple things. Team's one is good for a lot of reasons, but my one is good for a lot of reasons. They both can reach conclusions in different ways. And if my experiment
Yeah.
and team's experiment reach the same conclusion, that will give more credence to the premise that the Earth is a globe. But anyway, let me just get through the last of these super chats. Spike Smith for $2 says, "Mind of God, can you describe and define what a free body diagram is?"
I like that diagram you put up. That's what we're used to in school. You know, I think you had a block on an incline, you know, and that type of thing. We would draw all the forces, and then we would, you know, set them equal to 0 if the thing wasn't moving, like if it was static, and that's what we did in school for statics. And then you could find out the missing force, you know, or that was the kind of thing that we were analyzing. Yeah, something like that. And so it actually, a lot of those times that we did that in school, in high school, we were trying to figure out what the friction is, like the static friction or kinetic friction. I remember a lot of problems like that. And so
yeah, there's a lot of forces you have to take into account, obviously. I mean,
so I would say what you drew there with the normal force and then the mg and the ff, if you basically write equations for that and then set them equal to 0, that's what we would use a free body diagram for.
Okay. Right. Fatal Gravity for $2 says, "My thing's kinda small, Team Skeptic 2020. I know, brilliant quote. Don't worry, I'll be clipping that. Bella Charge for 2 New Zealand says, "Scissors, I beat all your papers, haha." Monkey Cat Pat Pat for $2 says, "I would buy Team's art for $15. You need to add about 5 zeros to that, I think. Anthony Purcell for 10 Australian says, "This is so frustrating. Orthogonal has a specific meaning that their dot product is 0. The dot product of these accelerations is not 0. Stop using terms you don't understand."
That's not true. That's just to respond to that. That is one definition, that the inner product is 0 for orthogonal vectors. But if you look up the definition of orthogonal, that's one of them. I'm not debating that. It also can be used to describe things at 90 degrees in two-dimensional space. But if you look at that, it's also composed of mutually orthogonal elements. So it's used to define vector spaces, which is what I was talking about when Craig and I debated for the first time. And so you could call it whatever you want, but what I've learned from this is that you guys actually do believe that those forces are acting independent. I don't like to use independent because that's more of a statistical term, but for your audience, don't get too rigid. Like, you know, don't think that, you know, I just randomly make up these terms like that. That's not what it is. You know, perpendicular 90 degrees is an instance of orthogonality, one subset of orthogonality.
I think it's always easier to talk in reference frames and then you don't need to use kind of 0 vectors, and it just makes the conversation easier. But that,
I think that was the issue, because I never spoke to you before that, and we, you know, it was a term that I was comfortable with, you know, maybe not anybody else. So
maybe I didn't understand the way that you were applying it so much, and the fact that you just kept saying it, but. Crafty Keeler for €2 says, "We love the tight shirt. UBU FTFE. I love my tight shirts as well." Rampant for 1,000 claps says, "Team Skeptic's drawings are as good as his whistles." Hey, mind of God, have you seen the face that Team Skeptic makes when he tries to whistle?
Hey,
no.
I did a whistle. I did a whistle the day that I've been
to.
practicing. That's getting close. Hold on, I did a whistle the other day that I'm getting pretty close. Hear me out. But I will never whistle like this in public because of the face I have to make. Well, hold on.
This video's flagged for not appropriate for kids, right?
We always get hit like that.
Tell Team that when he answers
God damn
the
it!
door
I was
like this.
fucking. I was IA. That happened. Chill out.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it was actually whistling earlier. Hold on one second. I can do this.
Oh, you're getting better. He sounds less. There's less dogs going.
Yeah, but I would never do that in public nor on camera. That's horrible. My face that I make is trash.
Jeffrey Sloan for $20 says, "Analogy of field forces. Put a piece of paper between 2 magnets. There is a force acting on both the magnets, even when separated. No matter how close the magnets get to the paper will not experience the force."
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Mind of God, I was gonna say that. Hey, pull my screen up one more time, Craig. Let me explain just one more thing. I want to explain.
Oh, okay, not that screen. Sorry.
These numbers right here, right? A1 and A3, right? They're both related to each other. Okay, they're both related to each other by this right here, by M. So this gravitational field that goes out like this, but it goes out in all directions. We're only going to draw one vector of it, or one, like, one portion of it, right? This line. As it goes away, A drops. So as we go in this direction, acceleration drops and it gets lower and lower and lower. Never reaching zero, but getting lower and lower and lower with distance. So why this object, the force that's being felt, the acceleration being felt by M is not felt on this object is because both of these accelerations are completely dependent on the mass of the Earth and the distance from that mass only. So the ant wouldn't feel, it wouldn't change anything because these numbers, these acceleration numbers, are both dependent only upon the mass and the distance from here.
That's why we both agree on that. We both agree on that.
Okay, I was still thinking that you were under the impression that this acceleration should change the acceleration felt by this object, which it shouldn't.
No, we're talking first about the forces that are created between the masses. We agree that is governed by that F equals G M1 M2. That part we don't have issues with. It's just why the ant is not feeling the F3, and so you would say that it's gravity in a gravitational environment, I guess.
Yes.
That allows that to work.
Yes.
So. And
yes,
that's
why it doesn't feel F3 or A3.
Yeah, so that's fine. I mean, that's good that we clarified that. That's the way it is for you guys. It's okay.
All right. So Anthony Purcell for $10 says seismic wave travel times are an independent metric of distance, as are tsunami travel times. Travel times are just inconsistent with a flat Earth, especially across and around Antarctica.
I worked as a seismic engineer for a couple of years, and we didn't account for Earth curves. Just fair enough.
How the fuck can you work as a seismic engineer, knowing what PNS waves are, and still think the Earth is a magic frisbee?
But the issue, Craig, with us is we're creating the PNS waves ourselves, because when we got the data from the field, we are putting like some explosive in the ground, right?
Well, yeah, but it's about the propagation of the waves and the ways that they propagate. That is only possible on a sphere. There's literally no way that those propagations can happen on a two-dimensional plane.
Well, I can just tell you, I worked in the data processing, not in the data acquisition, and then we did not adjust for Earth curve when we created the images.
Well, you don't
so
need
that
to
must
adjust.
happen in the field if it did.
No, you don't need to adjust for Earth curve, because the data points of where the waves reflect will only give you one shape.
Well, we're getting time domain data, right? When you do an experiment in the field, everything is in what's called the time domain, because there's an impulse, then there's recorders on the ground across the entire survey. Let's say it's a land survey. And then so that comes to us in time domain. And so what we do as processors is then we have to then put those blips in its correct position in depth. And so through that process of taking time domain data to depth, we did not account for Earth curve. So Brenda's like time domain in quotes. Brenda literally has no idea what she's talking about. Like, she's so dumb, dude. Like, you ask any seismic processor, time domain is the very standard terminology for data that comes from the field, raw data. It comes in the time domain.
Okay,
and then when we make an image, one second, when we make an image and present it to our clients, it's it's in depth, because we convert the time domain blips to their actual, what we believe are their actual positions in depth. And so I'm not sure. Anyway, it's just Brenda, but I just thought I would point that out.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see with the data points that you receive from PNS waves how you can get anything other than a sphere. I mean, it certainly shows that we're not on a flat plane because of the way that the waves reflect. We try and remove the
S waves, actually. We try and remove the S waves.
Well, yeah, of course you would.
They're the ones we don't want, yeah.
Well, actually, the S waves can be useful for determining the shape via reflection, right?
They actually do use those. I didn't get into that. There is a way that they use that later in processing in the migration stages, but that's more on the theoretical side. Like, those are people with like PhDs.
I think Bob the Science Guy has said it the way that I've been trying to. S&P waves have nothing to do with curvature directly. The patterns that they create require a sphere.
Well, the image that you construct, if you're reconstructing it faithfully to what's beneath the surface, we would have to know whether the strata is curved or not. The migration algorithm, which is the last stage in data processing.
Yeah, but the data that we get from the waves will tell us the shape. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way it's possible from my experience, because no one in my center, if you ask anybody who worked in data processing, they've never accounted for curve. The only way that that could have happened is in the field, and I don't know field people. We just got the data, so but I don't see that they've done that. It doesn't happen in the migration step. It doesn't happen in any of the like. We would do like noise reduction, we would do a deconvolution, we try and get rid of the wavelet that produced those time domain samples and all that. So like in any of those steps, and I've done it enough, 2 years is not forever, but we did not take into account Earth curve.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't have to take into account Earth curve because the data would show you the shape. That's kind of my point there. But anyway, that's another debate specifically.
Sure.
Then we've got Crafty Keela for €2 says, great to see a debate before the debate. Yeah, I always love them. NA for $6.66. Hail Sagan. Mind of Dodge can eat a dick. I'm only here because you guys rock. Yeah,
I'm
well,
not gay. I will not be doing that.
You're being respectful today, so I'm okay with it. I have issues with some of the things you say sometimes outside of Flat Earth, but you're staying respectful, so I appreciate that. Glass Monster for $2 says wheels will help pull the block up the ramp. Well, yeah, obviously. And then the Mind of God for $2 says enjoyed the dialogue piece. Yep, thank you, appreciate that. Anthony Purcell for $2 says, so Mind of God, you're redefining the word orthogonal.
No, I guess it's more. I should have been more careful in the first debate. I think now we maybe understand each other better. Mm-hmm. I'm using a term when it's used in vector spaces. So if a person looks up what a vector space is and then looks up orthogonality, it's a way to define the vectors in that vector space. And so when I first talked to Craig, that's what I was talking about. So
right.
I believe gravity can be constructed into a vector space, but it looks like it can't.
No, because of the fact that the forces are independent of each other when you're talking about the vectors.
There you go. So independent may be a better term. I'll use that.
Anthony Purcell for $5 Australian says, flat Earth seismic models are accurate enough over small distances, but large distances you need to include curvature.
Yeah, that's the answer that I got from somebody that I asked. So just full disclosure, that's what they told me. So yeah.
And Professor Phil Bell in the chat, who is an actual real professor that puts stuff on the moon, says no, he's talking rubbish. You read off the depth and frequency and correlate it with strata composition.
What's he talking about? Get him on the panel then if he's serious about what he just said. Go for it. I mean, I don't know everything about data processing, but I definitely know enough to debunk what he just said. So you can bring him on.
Well, team, it's up to you. Do you want to bring Professor Phil Bell on as well? Prof Bell, are you free? Do you want to come in?
Well, the only thing I have against that right now is that we're getting ready to go do that other debate.
It's in 1 hour from now.
I don't want to get started.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I still I still need to take a shower.
Yeah, maybe we can set that up for another day. We can.
From,
that's fine. That's fine. I've spoken to Bell before.
But
for sure. It's fine.
Team, the chat has been asking for the debate to be streamed on one of our channels as well. And I asked the plot hole. So, do you want to stream it on your channel as well as it being on the plot hole?
I mean, that's up to Johnny.
He said he doesn't mind, and I mean, it's a chance to promote his I suppose in a better way.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it.
Cool. How should we do it? Should we? If I join you via, how are we doing it? Is it on Discord?
Oh, I don't know. Johnny, how do you want to do this? I'm calling him Johnny. I should be calling him.
Yeah, plot hole.
The toilet paper house, TPH.
Yeah.
TPH. How do you want to do it? Are we joining you through Discord?
Yes.
No, he's hosting the debate.
Oh, okay.
We're debating the second coming of Jesus. Which I don't understand how that's a debate. Like, are we just talking to the second coming of Jesus? I mean,
do we have to disprove that he's Jesus? Yeah. Definitely. I'll tell you what, team. I'll
tell you this. This is the one time I'll be cheering for you guys. Heavy.
It's certainly going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And talking about the plot hole, for $10, he says, everyone tune into the plot hole for the show. Team Skeptic and FTFE take on Jackson the Second Coming. Join the Discord. So it sounds like it's going to be in the Discord.
Oh, that guy. Hold on. hold the fuck on. Let me mess it. Hey, you answer me this while I pull the stream up. TPH. Is this the same guy that I did the same flat earther I debated the other night?
Wait, is he a flat earther as well? Oh my god, this is going to be amazing.
Hold on, shut up.
Well, he has to be if he's Jesus.
Oh
my God.
See what he says. Hold on.
I'm so looking forward to this.
I would rip.
The guy was named Action Jackson.
Action
Oh
Jackson.
man, hold on. That's what his name said on my thing. So I was like, what? When he just said Jackson.
Do
So
we
it's
hate
like,
ourselves?
If it's him, we do. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, let's face it. We're debating someone today that says he's Jesus, and tomorrow we're debating G-Man and Nathan Thompson on evolution. We must hate ourselves.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun tomorrow night.
Right, mind of God, I've got to ask you this. What do you think of Nathan Thompson?
He worries me a little bit. I worry about people who go to schools and start yelling things and all that. Like I believe that people like that should be made fun of and told to not do that kind of thing. Like people drop their kids off to school for a particular reason. They don't want to be barked at by a random.
I appreciate that you hold that view, because there's a lot of flat earthers that have backed him up. But regardless of what you believe, when parents drop their kids off at school, they're leaving them there with the assumption that they're going to be protected, safe, and learn the things that they've been told they're going to learn. They're not sending them to school so someone can stand on the sidewalk and shout to them about the earth being flat. If he really wanted to do that, if he wanted to talk to the kids, there's ways to go about it. You could contact the school and say, look, could I maybe do a talk in an assembly or something? There's ways to do it. So what he did was just wrong, whether the Earth's flat or not. It was a horrifically stupid thing to do.
There's so many problems with that. He develops a relationship with the kids, and it's not good for him to be doing stuff like that. And the reality is, they're not teaching everything that's a lie. Like, I don't think anybody would say that. Like, it's not like everything we were taught in school is a lie. So yeah, I mean, that's scary. I'll never co-sign that.
Right, I appreciate that you hold that opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me tell you.
Let me just do the two super chats I've got in quickly. Better Charge for $2 New Zealand says, get him to turn the ocean to wine. Oh, that would be fucking amazing. And then Rampant for 1,000 claps says,
he does that. I'm believing.
yeah.
He does it. I'm driving to Galveston. I'm getting drunk. And I'm fucking going
praying
total Jesus cruise. Yeah. Every single fucking day, I'm praying to God. Drunk as fuck off of ocean water, praying to God.
Rampant for 1,000 claps says, you are debating the Jesus fucking Christ? Well, he seems to think that he is the second coming of Jesus Christ. So I am
crazy.
Yeah. So team, what were you going to say about him?
Well, a couple of things. First off, here's the thing. I definitely want people to tune into the plot hole. It's not going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on his podcast on his website. So I'm kind of iffy about streaming it live. I don't mind posting it afterwards. So what I would do, if I stream it live, here's what I'm going to ask of the people out there. If I stream it live and you were intending on watching it already, I would like you to not watch it on my channel. I'd rather you go to www.rockmetaltalk.com and watch it there so you can help generate hits to his website and hits to his podcast. It helps him out, and that's truly what it should be all about, is making sure that Johnny gets the recognition for what he's putting together. He's inviting us to be on his channel. I don't mind streaming it, but I really, really don't want to take away from Johnny, because Johnny's a good dude.
No.
Met him in person.
Yeah. But what it can do is people that are finding your stream will then, we can be like, why don't you, whilst you're here, open another tab for rockmetaltalk.com. People that are watching, fair enough, have a tab open for Team, but also have a tab open for rockmetaltalk.com. To give him the hits, download the podcast afterwards as well. Get him the extra hits and everything. Team stream it, because
you don't even have to have.
We can just have the Nathan Thompson and JM Truth memes playing or something whilst we talk about if they're Jesus. Oh my! I can't wait for this. I really can't
you
wait.
won't. I don't think you'll be
Yes.
able to chat, Martianista. I don't think you'll be able to chat on the podcast. Of course, you'd be able to chat on YouTube, but you wouldn't be able to chat on
I mean
the podcast.
that's a good reason to
But
have both open
regardless-
so that they can chat along in the YouTube chat as well as listening
Yeah,
to the podcast.
mute my stream. Just mute me and listen over there if that's the case.
Yeah.
I'll do it only if you guys promise me that you'll go over there and watch on his channel. Not on his channel, but on his website and listen to the podcast. That's
Yeah.
the only way I'll do it because I really don't want to take away from Johnny. Johnny's a good dude, man.
Yeah.
And he deserves the
Absolutely.
exposure. He
I
deserves
really
everything.
I had a massive blast last time I went on there. The guy who was supposed to be debating didn't turn up because he said he was too smart for me. So we just talked about flat Earth stupidity, and it was brilliant. It's
Oh.
an amazing show. Definitely go and check it out. I think we're probably going to wrap
So,
up
let
this
me-
here
let me-
in a bit. So team, we finished up what we're saying.
Let me tell you what the plot hole told me was he said yes, the flat earther Jackson will be there too. We actually have 2 Flerfs coming.
Oh God.
And then he gave me the Instagram handles for the guys, and one of them is Cure the Mind virus. And he says Cure
And-
thinks he's the son of God.
And the other ones, we are the
Oh
psyop, right?
fuck.
Oh, this is going to be amazing.
Yes. Yes,
right.
it is. It's going to be great.
So-
Mind of God, tune in.
Yeah.
Yo, no, I will, man. I'm around.
www.rockmetaltalk.com. Go over there and listen on the podcast and hang out in the chat, talk shit with some of my people. As long as you're making it friendly shit talking, they know better.
Yeah, it's
they
fine.
don't just block people over there. So have
Well,
some
no, if
fun,
this is
keep
the
it
Jesus
clean,
guy-
and
If
well,
this
yeah,
is the
yeah.
Jesus
I,
guy,
I was
I'm
just
on your
talking
side.
about
I'm
like
on your
if you
side.
were. Hell yeah! Even if he's a flat earther, that's great. I love it. I love it.
That's
Sure.
bad news
Alright,
for me if Christ returned already. That's horrible
Yeah.
news.
Sean Hawkins asks FTFE, how much do you pay these morons to debate you? I wouldn't pay a flat earther anything. If they want to come on and be embarrassed, that's all up to them. But mind of God, I would like to arrange a debate between you and Professor Phil, because I think that would be
Professor Phil Bell.
yeah, I think
We-
that would be
we've
an
talked
incredible
already in the
debate.
past. We've talked already in the past. I mean, if you just email me and tell me the topics, as long as it's not just making fun of each other, that's fine.
No,
If you want to talk
I
science-
think it would be a good debate between the two of you.
Actually, yeah, but mind of God, Professor Phil Bell is not like in the shit talking department whatsoever. He prefers to show you how wrong you are from his perspective, of course. But he always
Yeah.
takes that approach. And every interaction I've had with him so far, or every interaction I've seen with him so far, it's not an ad hom shit talking fest like it is with me. It's literally he tries to explain what
Yeah.
he's talking about.
And he's someone that I
Whether you
wish
get
I
it
was
or
as
not
smart
is on
as.
you, but
No, you're
Yeah,
smarter.
same
than me,
here, same
Craig,
here.
I'll give you that.
He says
I've
next
got-
Friday night. Mind of God, you free
we are
next
talking
Friday?
about the same Craig, right?
Yeah. Mind of God, you free next Friday?
What day is it today, dude? Every day feels like a Friday for me.
Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah, I mean,
Friday at the
a week
moment.
from today.
Just send me an email and I just want to make sure it's some like couple topics, like so it's not just like random, Then it's fine.
I
As
think
long as-
seismic waves and stuff would be a good one. But I think also, as Professor Phil Bell has first-hand experience talking about, is space real and something like that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. If you can donate 5% of the proceeds to some charitable thing, that would also be lovely. You don't have to, but yeah, I'm
I can
fine
do
with
that. I can do that.
Okay.
I don't mind doing
Then I'm in
5%
for
of my.
sure.
Awesome. Right, we've got Absinthe became a new member. Thank you. You can now use the emoji of Nathan Thompson in jail. And then we got another 1,000 claps from Rampant. Says, I bet this Jesus can only turn water into urine. Budumch. Right, awesome. So next week we got Mind of God versus Professor Phil Bell. That should be fun. But in about 45 minutes on Team Skeptic's channel and on rockmetaltalk.com, me and Team Skeptic will be talking to 2 flat earthers, one of which thinks he is the second coming of Christ. It's going to be an absolute dumpster fire, so make sure you have the tabs open ready. rockmetaltalk.com. Also, he posted the link to his Discord in the chat. Plothole, if you could post the link to the Discord again, get as many people in the Discord as we can, and enjoy the shit show that is to come. Thank you, Mind of God, for coming on and having a decent conversation. I appreciate that.
No, thank you guys. We clarified things today. So
Yeah.
thank you. Take care.
And team, thank you as always. You're going to go and be less smelly and ready for the debate, huh?
Yeah, I always like to, you know, I live by a policy in my life, and it goes, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good. And when you play good, they pay good. That's Deion Sanders, okay?
Nice.
And ever since I heard it, I always thought to myself, you know what? Do yourself up. You always got to look and feel great before you go into like a live stream or live debate or anything like that. So right now, I need to go get looking great.
Cool. So yeah, in 45 minutes time on rockmetaltalk.com and on Team Skeptic's channel, just mute Team's channel and have the chat open. Listen to it on Rock Metal Talk and just have a laugh in the chat as well. And we'll see you guys in about 45 minutes. And remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth. Fight the flat. Fight the flat.